Another night was passing. I was sleeping tight in my bed. Before hopping up, deciding it was time for some food. I pigged out pretty well. I was starving, and I got right back to the research. While doing so, it occurred to me I hadn't taken any meat down in a while. There were a whole slew of deer nearby. So I decided to head on over there, bag me one of them babies. Get my pemmican stocks up a bit. Decided to go for one of the bucks. If I leave the does, might end up with extra deer before too long here. So I slew one. Didn't take too much. This submachine pistol, pretty fine weapon. I was right happy carrying that bad boy back. And as soon as I got back, I butchered him up. Started making that pemmican. Occasionally stopping to have a meal. Otherwise, cooking away. Before too long, occurred to me my potatoes were probably done. So I ran on out, started doing some harvesting. Once again, a man does get hungry. And after eating, I decided to chill out. Stare at my wall for a while. I was getting better at picking plants. I didn't botch nearly as many times as I used to. About halfway through, I decided it was time for bed. So off I went. The next day, I was right back to harvesting potatoes. Had a bit of fumble fingers again, smashing them up in my hands. But I got a good harvest nonetheless. While doing that, a big meteorite crashed down nearby. I paid it no mind. I was right back to cooking after them potatoes were pulled in. While cooking, a trader showed up. Nice caravan of people. I kept right on cooking while they approached. Didn't want to run out too early, seemed too eager. After I got all the meat cooked up, I was back to research. I was making decent progress on that. And then I decided to run on out, talk to that trader, see what he had to offer. I sold a bunch of the random animal skins I had around, alpaca wool, and some extra clothes I didn't want anymore. It was time for a quick feed outside. I hauled in all my silver. I was getting quite a stockpile of wealth going. As soon as I sat down to research some more, a transport pod crashed nearby. A fella named Eric, old timer, seemed to have some mental slowness, couldn't remember much. Despite that, though, I decided to keep with my plan, helping people out. So I headed on out to pick him up. He was happy to be rescued, though he was in some pain. I got him in, got him tended, so he wouldn't bleed out or anything. He wasn't in too bad a shape anyways. He was right happy about being helped. And then I was off to bed myself. That night, the weirdest feeling come over me. Pain, soreness. Far more tiredness than I usually feel. Wasn't the best, I have to say. Not sure what happened there. Maybe something in the water. I did feel like I was moving significantly faster than usual as I got up, ate, gave Eric some food as well, and decided to sit about for a bit, doing some relaxing, plan on some cleaning when I finally decided to get up. My heel root was doing alright, and my potatoes were taking off once again. I sat back down to research, and Eric got himself up and took off. I think I made a friend in that fella, and for once I felt good about him leaving. The next day, I had noticed some silver nearby, and a little more silver certainly wouldn't hurt my situation. I spent the whole day getting that silver mined. Hamlet and I hauled it all in. Before I had a little bit of food and went back to bed. I sure was getting extremely tired extremely fast these days, and my mood was starting to tank out because of it. I can't work myself as hard as I'd like to. While sleeping, I heard some transport pods crash on down, some supplies. Ended up being some eggs. I put it on my list of things to do to get those brought in. And Hamlet seemed to take off right away for them. Hopefully the guy didn't eat them all, but if he did, no big deal. I sat down to do some research. When I got up, it was time to clean. This place was getting to be a real pigsty. And then it was back to research again. I needed to make some progress. I was going to make myself some proper weaponry. And while researching, I decided maybe some nice simple meals were in order. So I made a few of those. I decided to hit the hay early. This sickness sure was wearing me out. My joints were all aching like crazy. While sleeping, something in my power grid blew and a big old fire started. It was quickly getting out of hand and there wasn't a lot I could do. So I jumped up and got to the deed of putting it out. It was spreading fast. This was going to be a doozy. And I was right certain I was going to lose some stuff here. Especially considering my extreme tiredness. My power cables got taken out. While doing it, I just couldn't handle it anymore. I snapped. Decided to take a walk around. Despite the fact that my potatoes were starting to burn. The nice floors I'd put in around my windmills are burning. And my smoke leaf started to go up too. At the time I just didn't care though. Damnedest thing. It all went up right quick. And those burnt up floors sure are ugly. I can tell you that. I got a call about an incapacitated refugee while wandering about. Once again though, couldn't be troubled to care. One of my windmills burnt up. That turbine was shot. And the fire was spreading out of control. I was as tired as a man could get, and as hungry as well. I finally decided I better get back to dealing with this fire before it took out too much more of my stuff. My whole little workroom was going up, my batteries were on fire, my research bench was completely destroyed, so was my stone cutting bench. This was a real nightmare, I'll tell you. While putting out the fire, I passed out, oblivious to the heat, but fortunately when I was sleeping it did start raining. And God's be good, it put the fire out. All my smoke leaf was gone, all my potatoes were gone, and I had a whole lot of rebuilding to do. My power was wrecked. All I could do, eat a little bit of food, and get myself in bed. Next day, I did have my hands full. Decided to plant my plants first, just in case you don't want to run out of food. So got the food replanted. Occasionally taking a break, have a little bit of fun. Didn't want my mood to dip too low. Once I get in that mindset where I just don't care, I let the whole place burn up. So I stayed on top of my own happiness. Fortunately, I'd stockpiled some materials, wood and steel. Got my bench and my research bench rebuilt. And my little stool. And I was running around like a madman. Something about this disease did make a fella run fast. The walls that burnt down I rebuilt out of stone. It doesn't make sense to make them out of something that's just going to burn down again. And it was one busy day. Running around, cleaning up the mess, hauling slag, building. I did get tired early, once again. While sleeping, cold snap came upon the land. I'm sure that does not bode well for my plants. I also decided I was going to cut down a bunch more trees. I was going to need the wood. I rebuilt my wind turbine, hoping to get some of the power situation sorted out. Had a meal and then got to repair my walls. My plants started dying off due to that cold snap. I just could not win, was my thought as I went to bed that night. Perhaps this smoke leaf just was never meant to be mine. I thought maybe I could use my little serum to cure myself, but I decided this wasn't the worst case situation, so I was going to hang on to it for a while. When I woke up, it was right back to repairing walls, occasionally taking a break, have a little walk around. My whole area looked different now that all the plants had burnt out. I couldn't keep my power stable due to the fact that I had no batteries and the wind is a bit unpredictable. I didn't mind too much though. I got my burnt out floors done. Once ripped up, planned out some new ones. Started mining out some steel. There was a nearby patch of that and that was good. I was gonna need it for them batteries. Just after noon, I was off to bed again. Another trade caravan showed up while I was sleeping. This time it was a slaver. I wasn't even sure I wanted to talk to him. I did it nonetheless, and I did regret it. I thought about buying some of those people and setting them free. But for now, they're gonna have to deal with their own issues. They're alive and they're getting fed, so it ain't gonna be so much my problem. After that, I rebuilt my batteries, mined a little steel. I was feeling rather inspired, which is a rare case. While working, I caught the worst mood situation and decided to go to bed quick. I didn't sleep long. I was up, rebuilt the battery, got myself tended again, decided I was probably going to need some medicine if I was going to get over this situation. I was chopping trees, mining, taking short breaks, get a little food in me. I was going to have to rebuild my stockpiles before I got back to research. I did find some nearby medicine, and I nabbed a bunch of it. Fortunately, I had good success. With all the harvesting, I didn't fat finger any of them. And I got those all dragged in. So next time this crazy disease needed treating, I could get that sorted out. All my turbine floors were rebuilt. And that was good. I wouldn't have any plants growing up over there. And I was back to mining before going off to bed for the day. Well, I woke up about 10 p.m., had some food, did some cleaning. I was feeling pretty motivated. Decided I was going to clean the whole darn area up. I was sick of the mess, looking at this disaster. Debated on putting on some outside walkways. While doing that, someone contacted me, saying they were being chased. I told him, sure, come on in, buddy. I'll help you out. His name is Joe. Another old timer. Seemed a little overly sensitive, a little bit frail, but you could tell he could handle himself in a fight. Cold snap ended as he was running up on me. And my mood changed too. All of a sudden that buzzing in my ears stopped. A couple fellas showed up that were chasing after Joe. So I decided I'd better get out there with my gun, even though my traps would be most likely to take care of this situation. And we both ran over, got ready to give them the business. As that happened, some cargo pods fell out of the sky. I planned out some different grave locations for that dead fella on my trap. If I keep putting them where I was, the whole base is going to be covered in graves before too long. Well, it's a little bit weird walking over everybody's graves all the time. So I did some tidying. Ended up having to get over and dig that grave. Joe just absolutely refused. But he was happy to bury one of them fellas that were chasing after him. I just stood there, chucking horseshoes, having a decent time. Joe was an industrious fella, that's for sure. He's running around tidying up all the storage rooms, doing cleaning. And it pained me, but I was going to have to make him move on. He wasn't pleased either. Haven't been kicked out. I finished up the cleaning. Got my trap rebuilt. There were some visitors nearby. I stopped to have a chat with them. I sold them that crazy gun one of those people come at me with. It wasn't much good it was going to do me. And then I decided to get rid of a bunch of the brambles that were around, blocking up my walking area. Some of the dead trees before getting back to research. I was back to making some progress on that before I had to get off to bed. While sleeping, some cargo pods crashed. A bunch of grapes landed. Unfortunately, those fellas didn't steal it. Hamlet was happy to carry it in for me. He's working like a dog. When I woke up, had a little bit of food. Started planting some of my potatoes again. And then decided I was going to fix up my bedroom a bit. Being that I was feeling inspired, I created one heck of a nice dresser. Seemed like it was a bit of a waste. Such a shabby bedroom. But somehow it made me feel a little more rested. So I finished with the potatoes, the smoke leaf, and then I was right back to researching. Temperatures weren't what you'd like them to be, but it wasn't too terrible. And my clothes were nice, as it was raining. While researching, I did some thinking about how I could use a little more meat. That herd of deer got a little bit closer. So I said heck with it. I'd get out, stretch my legs a little bit, take down another buck. And it didn't take too much effort, once again. So I got him brought down, slit his throat, got him cleaned, brought him in. After all that running, decided to sit for a few minutes, have a little relaxation. Then I butchered the deer, got back to making pemmican. Pemmican with grapes and venison should be pretty delicious. Then I was off to bed. When I woke up, the usual routine, had a little bit of food, got back to cooking up that deer meat, decided to go right back to bed. As I did so, a happy feeling struck me. And for once, everything just felt alright. I decided to plan out a little bedstand next to my bed, seeing as my dresser turned out so nice. Before that, though, I was going to cook up the rest of that meat, keep the pemmican stocks high. Debating on what to do with those eggs, as I built a rather excellent end table. I mined out a little more steel, just to make sure, should something go wrong, I had enough to make some kind of repairs. Spent my time researching and mining, back and forth. I was careful about how that mountain was structured. Sure didn't want to figure out what was scratching around under the earth. Felt like I'd done a good job acquiring some wealth, getting some nice stuff together for myself. I was right happy with where I was living, how it turned out. I was keeping the darndest hours. Woke up around 9, ate some food and started tossing horseshoes. Still feeling a bit crabby about having to let Joe go. But there was work to be done, so I focused on that. Mining and research. I was getting right close, figuring out how to do some proper machining, but decided I needed to go catch a little bit more rest. First thing, Upon waking, right back to mining. With that, I decided my steel reserve is pretty decent. Sat down to focus on some research. Someone sent me a message about peace talks. I didn't really feel like I was at war with anybody, so I ignored it. And then I finished, figuring out how to do some machining. I decided gunsmithing was going to be in order. With machining under my belt, gunsmithing should be a breeze. Tended my own little sickness there. Decided to use up some of this jade I had laying around, making some fancy tables. And a chess set. Be weird to play against myself, but that's what it was. Didn't get too far on it when it was time to go to bed. A lightning storm struck, spreading fire around, but fortunately it started raining. When I woke up, it was right about midnight. Had some food. Finished my chess table. It turned out pretty excellent. I am getting quite adept at making things. I thought about making a few others. Seeing as I had a ton of jade, I could sell that kind of stuff. Somebody'd be like to buy it. But instead I did some research. I went off for a nap. Hamlet was still keeping pretty normal hours. I think he was missing me. When I woke up, I futzed around with that chess table. While doing so, thinking about the fact that I needed to do some cleaning. That's just what I did before getting back to research. While researching, some of them pirates showed up. 3 of them this time. They're getting a little more brazen. All of them had guns, and they're gonna come at me. Decided I probably shouldn't ignore this situation. One of them died on a trap. The second one went down on a trap. I decided the third one was gonna get the business. I hit him point blank. Bam, 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 and down he went. Like I said, they all had guns, but none of them were the best. They all had halfway decent gear on, too. The 2 that had gone down weren't going to last too much longer. Being that they were pirates, I do not have a soft spot in my heart for them. So I decided I was going to take their gear, strip them fellas, wait for them to die on their own. And if they're lucky, maybe a big cat will come along and eat them. So I stripped them, brought their stuff in, remade my traps, dug some graves, and got to the business burying the ones that had passed away already. I thought about finishing that last one off myself. I was right angry at them pirates still. I guess you can't hold too much against them. I'm sure they had horrible upbringing. I got back to researching, and some cargo pods fell again. Lo and behold, it was more jade. Just what a fella doesn't really need. That's alright. I researched for a little while longer, and then I was off to bed. And nearby, some crazy plant sprouted, ambrosia. I'd heard people talking about this. It's supposed to make a fella happy. After having a little food, I got to burying that last pirate. And good riddance to them all. Then I decided I was going to gather a bunch of jade as a meteorite had fallen. Not terribly long ago. Might as well stockpile this stuff. I'm sure I could make something worth selling. And that's what I did. Did some mining, got it hauled in. Then I ran right back out and finished that mining. Hauled the rest of it in. Hamlet helped with some of it, which is good. I did have a mountain of jade sitting around. And as I sat at my fancy jade table, I was thinking about what I could most use that Jade 4. First, I was going to have to get some shut-eye, though. So I slept till about 9 o'clock. Tended to myself. Some of the last of my medicine. It was running a little short, but I could probably find some more. I decided I was going to make a nice comfy chair for while I was doing this research. It seemed to me my welder would be the tool for the job. Which is weird, but I got it done, and it turned out pretty good. I'd also decided I'd make a nice cloth sleeping spot, something fluffy, for Hamlet. He'd been sleeping on the ground, and I could improve his situation, so that I would do. I was feeling okay despite the pain and the sickness. As I sat, researched, in my fancy new chair, a smoke leaf was coming in. I decided to switch over, figure out how to make beer. That would be pretty awesome for these relaxation moments. Did some training on Hamlet. Seemed like he's forgetting stuff, so I had to keep him up to date. I got back to researching. I was feeling pretty good while doing so, until I got sleepy enough to have to go lay down. While sleeping, a transport pod crashed nearby. A fella named Hadley with one sweet mustache. He was a non-violent type, and I did appreciate that. So I decided I was going to rescue him. See if I could nurse him back to health, as I'd done so many people before. I ran out, quick as could be. This weird disease makes a man fast, and that was good. While carrying that fella back, another transport pod crashed down nearby. A woman named Sadie. I didn't have an extra bed for her, but I decided while I was at it, I'd go ahead and rescue her too. So I got Hadley laid in. Decided I wasn't going to use any medicine on him, considering my own situation. But I tended him up reasonably well. He'd pull through just fine. And then I got over, picked up Sadie, hauled her in, and gave her the same treatment. Once again, I did not want to use medicine, since my supplies were running very short and I was sick as I'd ever been. I was going to need some extra food, was the thought, while I ate. All these extra mouths to feed. And then I was off to bed. Feeling pretty good. I was making a positive impact here. Resting better than I ever had. And that was a day.